Jalen Brunson recently on his podcast called out the favorable treatment that Jokic gets compared to other candidates when it comes to winning the MVP award or being in talks for the MVP. So I'm just going to read this quote out. The Nuggets are not seated where they were last year, and people are still talking about him like being MVP, Brunson said about Jokic. Individually, he deserves it. But when Luka was averaging damn near triple-double, but the Mavs seed wasn't there where people wanted to be, they were like, oh, he shouldn't get MVP because of seeding. Now, I'm going to read this other quote by Brunson. Why do certain narratives work for some of the people? So here's what I'm going to say about what Brunson said. What he's saying essentially that Jokic deserves to be in the talk for the MVP. That's what I got from what he was saying. But he's saying at the same time, the bar for him being in the talks for MVP is a lot lower than it is for other guys, that he gets less harsh criticism, or the criteria is not as harsh towards him as it is for other guys trying to get that award. It's much harder for other guys, but for Jokic, the standards are much lower. Now, is there truth to what he's saying? I would say there is some truth. I have to admit that. I have to be honest with that. He is right. During one of Jokic's years when he got the MVP, I felt they threw out the standard for seeding. If you remember back in 2022, the Nuggets were the 6th seed in the Western Conference that year. Granted, they didn't have Jamal Murray for that whole entire season, so they were in 6th place. And Jokic got the MVP that season. They threw out that seeding requirement. But if we're being honest, they have done this before a few other times too. Like when they gave Russell Westbrook the MVP that season, he got it. And I didn't feel he deserved it that year. So Jokic wasn't the first guy where they threw out the seeding standard, but I definitely believe in seeding when it comes to the MVP award. To me, it's very important. My criteria always has been to get the MVP, you have to at least be in the top 4 in seeding in your conference. If you're not in the top 4, then you simply don't deserve to get the MVP award in my eyes, because if you're that great, you will manage to get your team a 4th seed regardless of who's on your team. Just that's a testament to your greatness. Like that's the way I've always viewed it in my eyes personally. Now, going back to what he said about Luka deserving to be the MVP last year and him not getting it because of seeding, at least by my criteria, I would have given it to Luka because the Mavs were the 5th seed that year. So they fell barely short of it. And if you look at the Nuggets right now in the Western Conference, they are, let me just bring it up, just the rankings. All right, so they're in 4th place at 23-15, and the Rockets are in 2nd place at 25-12, while the Grizzlies are in 3rd at 25-14. So you look at the Nuggets, if they continue to play well as a team together, as they have been recently, they could climb up the rankings. They could go possibly as high as number 2. They have a chance, an outside chance. Now, I don't see them ever catching the Thunder, but if they get up into even the top 3, Jokic definitely has a strong case for the MVP award again. But would I be perfectly cool with SGA getting it? Yeah, absolutely. He deserves it in my eyes. He's led his team to the best record in the West. He was runner-up last year. So I wouldn't have any issues with that. But if the Nuggets continue to be in the top 4 in the West, then Jokic is definitely in there. He's definitely one of the names you have to throw in there. You just have to go by just record and that his stats are just so dominant. You can't really exclude him, but it doesn't mean he's guaranteed to get the MVP. It just means that he should be in those talks, and that's his testament to his greatness. When you're putting up dominant stats and your team is one of the elite teams, you definitely are always going to be in the talks for the MVP award. Now, if the Nuggets fall below 4th place this season, they're in like 5th, 6th, or 7th, and people are saying Jokic deserves the MVP, I definitely will call that out because I don't think he's worthy of it then. But if he can maintain a top 4 seeding, yeah, absolutely. But like I said, Brunson did have a point that one time Jokic got it when they were the 6th seed. you could make an argument how they didn't care about seeding for Jokic that year and they threw it out of the window. But if it was some other guy, they would have cared. So he makes a point. I don't know why the media has that double standard. I honestly don't know. I think it could be because they just like Jokic. He's not your typical diva superstar. So I guess that's very appealing to them. And he exemplifies just being a team player, all the other stuff. He's a low key guy. There's not much about him off the court, and I think he's not really a celebrity type of guy. So I think maybe that all appeals to the media, what they like in a player. So I think that could be a strong reason why they tend not to care about seeding when it comes to him. That's my only guess I can say, but that's pretty much all I had to say about this.